Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's City Council meeting. We certainly appreciate your attendance. Today is Monday, December 19th. We'll start tonight's meeting with to identify the city councilors that are here for tonight's meeting.
Councilors Aguilar? Here. Anderson?
Here.
Brown?
Here.
Entenmann? Erpenbach? Here. Jameson?
Here.
Karski?
Here.
Rolfing?
Here. We do have 7 city councilors here tonight, so we can conduct the city's business. As with every meeting we have with the City Council, we start with an invocation. Tonight we're very blessed to have Pastor Bill Mitchell. He is here tonight with Abiding Savior Free Lutheran Church. They're located at 49th and Bonson, and they're 1,200 members strong. And we're certainly pleased to have you here tonight, Pastor Bill. After Pastor is done with the invocation, we'd ask you to remain standing, and we'll then follow up with our Pledge of Allegiance. Pastor Bill?
I'd actually like to begin with a quote. America was founded by people who believed that God was their rock of safety. I recognize we must be cautious in claiming that God is on our side, but I think it's all right to keep asking if we're on his side. Quoted by Ronald Reagan, the 40th President of the United States. Would you bow your head and hearts with mine? Father, we come to you today and thank you for our city of Sioux Falls. In the scriptures, you have said that citizens ought to obey the governing authorities, since you have established those very authorities to promote peace, order, and justice. I pray for our mayor, for the various levels of city officials, and in particular for this assembled council. I am asking that you would graciously grant them wisdom to govern amid the conflicting interests and issues of our times, a sense of the welfare and true needs of the people in Sioux Falls, a keen thirst for justice and rightness, the ability to work together in harmony even when there is honest disagreement, and a personal peace in their lives and joy in their task. I pray for the agenda set before them this evening. Please give to them an assurance of what would please you and what would benefit those who live and work in and around our beloved city of Sioux Falls. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We will start with tonight's consent agenda. Council, any questions, comments, or motions?
Move to approve.
Second, Anderson.
Councilor Jameson's made a motion to approve tonight's consent agenda, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. Any discussion? Our roll call vote, please.
Councilors Erpenbach? Yes. Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That is 7-0. Thank you. Now moving on to tonight's regular agenda. Any discussion, Council?
Move approval, Erpenbach. Second, Aguilar.
Councilor Erpenbach's made a motion to approve tonight's regular agenda, seconded by Councilor Aguilar. If there's no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Councilors Erpenbach? Yes. Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That is also passed 7-0. Thank you. We have a number of folks in the crowd tonight. Certainly appreciate your attendance. If there's anyone who wanted to speak to the council now, please just come forward. All we'd ask is that you just state your name, and if you could just limit your comments to 5 minutes or less, we would appreciate that. If you do have an item that will come later on in the agenda, we'd ask you to wait until that time. But if there's another topic, please just come forward. Welcome.
Council members and Mr. Mayor, my name is Jerry Erickson. I'm speaking for an organization called Govern Sioux Falls Locally. Our city is a member of an organization called ICLEI. It's ICLEI, the International Council of Local Government Initiatives, the implementation arm of a United States manifesto called Agenda 21. We became a member in 2008. ICLEI and Agenda 21 comprise a global plan implemented locally. In May, I communicated with you via email and letter on this issue. I can well imagine why I did not hear from most of you. At that time, the very idea of Agenda 21 was more than many people were willing to entertain as fact. One council member responded via email, in effect, that my information must be wrong, that we had our own city government. I'm sure your inboxes are full daily, and since we were all focused on the event center, I refrained from further contacting the entire commission. However, I answered that one response with instructions as to how the council member could see that Sioux Falls was indeed a member of ICLEI. Dave McElroy told me our dues are paid through the landfill. If you go to ICLEI.org, that's ICLEI.org, you will see that we are one click away from the United Nations with our membership in ICLEI. I had one letter on the subject published in the Argus Leader basically explaining the fact that council members in office in 2008 were unaware of our membership. One online comment to that letter expressed a view ridiculing the idea that anyone would have the time to spend on what they called conspiracy theories. One expects that kind of comment. However, I immediately wondered what city council members might think about a citizen being ridiculed for taking the time to be involved in local government. Not one of us who has not sat in your chair can fully appreciate the sacrifice you make, the hours you willingly give to serving Sioux Falls. I hope to respect your time, but I will be visiting your inboxes more in future. The first time I broached the subject of ICLEI, of Agenda 21 and its planned encroachment on our local government, was to a room of 50 people. The reaction was immediate, characterized by shock. One angry reaction suggested storming City Hall, making demands with a lot of angry yelling, I suppose. If you have heard anything like that, it did not come from Govern Sioux Falls locally. I suspect that reaction originated out of frustration to yet another unwanted government program. As far as so-called conspiracy theories go, I note that the United Nations actually has a big building in New York supported by our tax dollars. I've seen photographs of it, and apparently it's been there for years. On this initial visit to the council this evening, I'll tell you what GSFL has been doing, as Govern Sioux Falls locally, instead of yelling. ICLEI has had some alarming successes across the country, ranging from draconian zoning laws and very serious citizen harassment on the one end of the scale, to the more humble beginnings of our city's leading green sustainability program. I saw the need to reach out nationally in order to learn about the issue. The issue crosses party lines nationally. One of the main positions of sustainability, as it is defined by Agenda 21 and ICLEI, is the eventual abolition of private property. That fact has shocked people nationwide into action. One of our state legislatures has asked me to speak on Agenda 21 and ICLEI with a weekly report to all the state legislatures, which I have done now for 6 weeks. Those communications will be extended to county commissions in the 5 counties affected by our city's leading green and sustainability program, to other city councils and to other people. Letters, some already published, will continue to area newspapers. In addition, GSFL has a 30-minute and a 1-hour presentation to alert the public to some of the intricacies of ICLEI and related programs. Individuals, including legislators and groups like GSFL, are fighting back against the regionalism and other Agenda 21 program aspects that threaten our ability to govern ourselves. Some state legislatures have formed caucuses to address the problem. Govern Sioux Falls locally was asked to find model legislation being considered in other states. We have secured several proposed bills, one of which provides a path for cities and counties to withdraw from ICLEI and related existing programs. Some of what I've said here tonight may seem to you to be a bit of an end run. While there is some truth to that, it is the consequence inherent in a decision by GSFL to move forward on the issue of our membership in ICLEI while so much energy was being focused on the event center. The end goal of GSFL is our city's withdrawal from ICLEI. Furthermore, when other cities and counties have withdrawn from ICLEI, revisiting any sustainability programs, decisions, laws, and regulations with a view to repeal is strongly recommended. I ask the Council and Mayor Huther to consider all sustainability master plan goals very carefully. While our membership in ICLEI was kept under wraps initially, we no longer can plead ignorance. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wanted to speak to this? Please come forward.
My name is Daniel R. Daly. I'm a disabled combat veteran and a citizen of the city of Sioux Falls. I sued the city and won in circuit and state Supreme Court. Initially, the matter was a concrete pad that per city ordinances is legal without a permit. After 4 city hearings, I constitutionally challenged city civil procedures in court. The city process was abhorrent. I received 4 repeat citations, quadruple jeopardy. They were not presented in person, improper service. I'd not seen them when a city code enforcer bouncer knocked and blocked my front door at 8 a.m. on a Saturday morning. There was one hearing I arrived for that was last minute City Hall canceled. I attended one hearing with 5 directors. The city said never happened, but I proved did. One 8-hour hearing was recorded. The city attorney stated he had no recording, but was heard on the presented tape asking to change his tape for his recording. I was not allowed to present evidence and forced to testify against myself, unconstitutional. The city process violates all state civil procedures and 2 amendments to the U.S. Constitution. There were 4 circuit court dates. At one, the city showed up without subpoenaed witnesses, argued they were not served at the city P.O. box. Prior witnesses appeared when they were served at 224 West 9th. The judge awarded me $1,300 the city has never paid. There was no representation at one hearing because the assistant city attorney was ill. When called at his city office, he answered. The city presented a form I'd signed. However, there was a fabricated second page with architectural lettering I'd not seen and didn't sign or initial. This, the only city evidence, was inadmissible. The city cited one 1800s Minnesota case while I cited 30 South Dakota cases. The city lost in circuit court and appealed to state Supreme Court. They left out the concrete question and the matter became entirely constitutional. The city cited 6 cases while I cited 70. I'd like to thank 3 law firms and the School of Law for their pro bono participation. My attorney fees had reached $50,000, and these patriots recognized I needed help. Yes, I won in state Supreme Court. Everything the lower court ruled. Justices scolded the private attorney. City tax dollars are wasted fighting against your constitutional rights with expensive private attorneys. There's federal law that protects me from local government malicious litigation. The city as defendant has no complete record for this matter. They'll have to use mine. Constitutional law requires they keep a thorough file. The federal case warrants a jury trial with damages actual and punitive. The city tortured me 8 years. I lost my house and my spouse for 27 years. The Veterans Administration treats me psychologically. My issues are PTSD and Agent Orange. I'm seeking financial reimbursement in 6 figures. I can devote towards a mayoral candidate who will repeal home rule. If you don't know who she is, you'll find out. See you in court. No questions.
Mr. Danley, thank you very much. Is there anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak to the City Council? Very good. Thank you very much for those presentations. We appreciate it. We'll now move on to item number 10.
Conditional use permit revocation, 2009-05-05, 601 West 10th Street. The conditional use permit was for allowing motor vehicle sales, display, and service in the C2 General Commercial District. The Planning Commission recommends revocation.
Mr. Cooper. Good evening. I'm Mike Cooper, representing Planning and Building Services. Within the city zoning ordinance, we have a provision for a certain classification of land use called a conditional use. And the way that those conditional uses are approved is by petition or application of a property owner. Then they go through a public hearing before the Planning Commission. And there are provisions that the Planning Commission recommendation can be appealed to the City Council for a second public hearing. Within our zoning ordinance, we also have a provision that if at any time the director finds that a conditional use permit that has been approved is not being upheld in accordance with the conditions or stipulations, that the director can request that that be presented to the Planning Commission at a public hearing upon notification of the property owner, and the Planning Commission can make a recommendation to the City Council on whether or not to revoke a conditional use permit. So tonight, the City Council is being asked to consider a recommendation by the Planning Commission for revocation of a conditional use permit, which was approved for the Blue Nile Auto Sales and Service at the location of 601 West 10th Street. This is the Pettigrew Heights neighborhood, and it's in the southwest corner of 10th and Duluth. We have a long history of issues that led to this point, and I know the City Council has received that information. It was also presented to the Planning Commission at their public hearing. The operator of the Blue Nile Auto, Kathleen Bernadette, is here tonight, and we also have Dean Lanier, who is our city fire marshal, who I think would also like to address the council pertaining to concerns and issues that led to this recommendation for the revocation. I'm not going to go through all the details of the timeline or the chronology, but I want to give the council and the public a sense of the history of this, because I believe it is important to at least explain how we got to this point. So the conditional use permit for automobile sales and service goes back to May and June of 2009, when that was approved by City Council. Automobile sales and service would say that you can have things like oil changes, but you're not going to do major auto repair, such as body work and painting. And as we began with the business operating, the violation and inspection history began in December of 2009 by way of a fire inspection, that there was a notice of an illegal spray booth. The owner was given a cease and desist order for stopping the spray painting operation. Another violation was noticed upon inspection in April 7th of 2010 for, again, an illegal spray painting operation. Again, the owner was given a cease and desist order and was issued a citation. And then going forward again in October of 2010, October 14th of 2010, another inspection notice for illegal spray operation, another citation issued. And then on June 17th of 2011, another fire inspection notice for illegal spray operation, and other violations were noted. And then finally on October 17th of this year, another fire inspection notice was made, and again, illegal spray operation. So that information has been forwarded to you, and there are other dates within this chronological timeline where we have attempted to actually meet with the applicant on numerous occasions and explain the concern about the violations, remedies. But again, we continue to find violations followed by citations. So the reason that we're bringing this to you tonight is really twofold. Number one is that staff has been unable over the last 2 years to assure the public that this conditional use permit can be operated in conformance with the stipulations and the city ordinances. And second of all, primarily based on fire inspection, staff is concerned that with this non-conformance operation, that there could potentially be some type of a fire or explosion. And the fact that the city never approved that use obviously would come back to us as a concern. So that's a very quick overview. When we get these proposals for revocation, we obviously take them very seriously. It's not that often that we would bring something like this to the council, but again, we believe that if you look at the evidence that we've provided to you, the timeline, again, on numerous occasions, staff attempting to reach some kind of agreement with the property owner and to no avail. So here we are tonight asking you to consider whether or not to approve the recommendation by the Planning Commission to revoke the conditional use permit. And Mayor, as I said, Dean Lanier, our fire marshal, is here tonight as well. Thank you, and I'll be around if you have any follow-up questions.
Mr. Cooper, thank you. I think what we'll do is, why don't we start with the owner or the attorney for Blue Nile, see if they have any comments, and then what we'll do is then we can turn it over to Fire Marshal Lanier if necessary, or anybody else. And if there's anyone else in the audience who'd like to speak to this item as well, we'll certainly take that into consideration. So would the owner of Blue Nile or his attorney, would you like to start, please? Thank you.
Yeah, my name is Kefialo, brother, owner of Blue Nile Auto. I did a mistake, this issue. I'll take responsibility, but I ask you guys to give me one more chance, last chance. But I did a mistake. I'll take responsibility. But most of the, I know once I get a ticket, most of the time they stop by and they visit and left from there. But I get a ticket one time, I get another warning ticket. But most of the things I didn't understand. I was just stop by there and just check my business and then left from my business.
Sir, thank you. And please stay around. The council will probably have questions for you at some point in time as well. Would your attorney like to speak to the council as well?
Okay.
Welcome.
Evening. My name is Michael Hansen. I've been working with Kalo on this, and I've known Kalo for probably about a year. His business is about a block to my office. My office is on 9th and Spring. And I've seen his business over the years, and if you look at the complaints on here, it really comes down to about two different sets. One, there's some complaints about how vehicles are parked and concerns about some fencing around some garbage containers. And if you look, you'll see that those items were taken care of. I think really the only issue that's really left here is this painting business. And I wasn't involved with it at this time. I've known Kalo. I didn't know that this was going on. But it looks like in December 2009, there was some inspection. He has given a cease and desist order. And then if you look at the timeline, there are some concerns about the way inventory was parked, and I think also that some cars supposedly were parked on the street, and I believe that was taken care of. And then we go to April 7th, he was given a citation, which, okay, he paid it. I wasn't involved. I can't make any excuses or give you anything as to why this didn't come to an end then. But then, if you look, on July 19th, there was a fire inspection, no violations noted. Then on October 2010, there's an inspection and a citation. Then there's complaints, and then if you look in February, there's an inspection, no violations noted. Then you keep going, it's more cleanup, and that was taken care of. But then on June 17th, the way I read it, there's a fire inspection notice for illegal spray operation, but it doesn't say that any type of a citation or anything was issued, just says other violations noted. Met with the individual, and then it says on October 17th, which kind of brought us, we're here, there was a fire inspection for illegal spray operations. Well, my client was gone at that time. He was not here in town. What happened in his business is, if you drive by campus and on 10th Street there, the Blue Nile Auto, he'd have individuals who would be like independent contractors who would do minor work on automobiles that he is selling, basically changing tires, the oil change, and the minor repairs which he was told he could do. If you look, there are no real complaints about major repairs taking place. He had told his employee, not really an employee, he's an independent contractor, that if you're going to do painting, it's to take place in T. My client had rented, and he still rents, a building in T for purposes of doing painting on automobiles. This individual on his own went and started painting in there. Oh, my client wasn't there, and brought paint back into the building. And there are pictures taken at the last inspection which showed the paint. My client has for you to look at. We've taken some pictures of the paint cans, and if you look, they're old cans and they're dated back in, if you look at the dates on the cans in there, they're in June of 2010. He quit purchasing paint, and basically, he was out of town this last time. The individual he told him not to paint was in there painting. An individual who he had fired on an earlier occasion saw that going on, called the fire marshal. But I've got photographs which we've taken here and blown up, which shows everything is cleaned up. The paint containers are out. You can look at the labels on them. You'll see that there's nothing new in there. There are the old ones from 2010. I can't sit here and really make excuses, for my client, except he says he didn't fully understand everything. He now does. We're talking about his livelihood, taking away his business. He tells me it's not going to happen again. Well, at the Planning Commission, some people there had made, well, in the past, how come he didn't get the message? Well, he gets the message now, and he tells me it's not going to happen. Normally, where I appear, it's in front of court, and someone's charged with a drunk driving ticket or something, and they're saying it's not going to happen again. If it happens again, fine, they get 10 days in jail. Here, he's going to lose his business under what I propose, or would ask this council to consider, is putting him on some kind of like a 30-day probation, one slip, and he's out of there. Give him his chance to show. You can see it's cleaned up. He says it's not going to happen again. It's a good business here in town. I know it is, because I know his customers, they're clients of mine, and if you look at the pictures, you'll see it's rectified.
Mr. Hanson, thank you. Fire Marshal Lanier, would you mind just coming forward, please?
Council, Mayor, Dean Lanier, Sioux Falls Fire Rescue Fire Marshal Division Chief. Thank you for the opportunity to speak today. I'm not going to discuss much about the steps that we've been through based on the chronology of what you've seen already. What I prefer to talk about is what are the circumstances and really what are the risks and consequences associated with a fire on these premises. Next slide. This is a typical body shop operation. Normally the processes involved with a spray and auto repair body shop are to take the pieces and parts of the exterior off the car, make small modifications, use some flammable materials to prep the surface area for spray painting, and then apply spray paints to that surface. It's been a number of years since this was identified as a hazardous type of operation, as far back as I can remember, and I've been in this line of work since 1983. I don't remember a point at which spray painting inside an enclosed space wasn't in violation of the fire code. This is basically what we're looking at being applied to the coat of the car. What is hazardous about these products is the fact that they are flammable. An approximate definition of flammable is something that will catch fire between 95 and 100 degrees Fahrenheit. What that means basically is this product is being aerated onto the car, it's being sprayed back and forth, it fills the space, and if there is any competent ignition source in that space, it has the opportunity to catch fire. More pictures of how much of an area we're looking at that has to be spray painted as far as a body repair. This is not a small operation. We're not talking about spray painting a small area. We're talking about a whole area of the front of a car that's masked off and paint has to be applied. What I wanted you to understand is what are the risks associated with doing it inside this space. There are special rooms that are constructed for this kind of activity specifically. It is minus of any kind of ignition source within the space. There are products in here that should make your eyebrows raise. The things like on the backhand side of the wall, there's an electrical outlet back there. What's different about that electrical outlet and the electrical outlet inside your home is absolutely nothing. It's the same exact kind of electrical outlet you would have in your home. The problem with that outcome is this: if a spray paint is aerated in that space, and then someone were to be so unfortunate as to plug in an electrical device, any type of competent ignition source can light that flammable spray paint. This is what the condition that we found inside the inside his locker. We did not get pictures of the dates on the cans. I'm one for counting things, so I automatically counted up how many cans I could see visible there. I say in excess of 40 cans. These cans approximately hold about a half gallon of paint. We've already exceeded the amount that would be allowed on this space, in this garage. There would be no purpose for this paint other than applying it to a car. Some more pictures of cars on the outside. This is, again, just providing you scope of how big of an area are we talking about spray painting inside this space. One thing I did want to make you aware of, in looking at the overhead shot of this specific address, directly to the south is a home. That single-family home structure is wood frame construction, basically pre-1960s. So we're talking about something that's within 10 feet of the back window of his garage. In trying to characterize the risk, here's what I want to try to envision for you and make it something of an anecdote, but I don't want to get too techie with this. If you were to have gas from your heater or your furnace fill your home, and you were to walk into your home and simply flip a light switch. The light switches in your home are not rated for an explosion-proof environment, and any kind of ignition source inside your home would have one of two results. Either you would have an immediate explosion or a run of fire using all that vapor space or combustible flammable product that's in the air at that time floating around. The best you could hope for is just that it's just a flash fire. The worst that you could probably find is an explosion. I think you can look back in the history of Sioux Falls just within the last 5 years or so, we have actually had houses explode as a result. At this time, if you have any questions for me, I'd be more than happy to try to answer.
Fire Marshal, we're there. We're just going to wait just a little bit, if you don't mind. I
Sure.
just want to see if there's any more public testimony on this particular topic. If you would, please come forward. Thank you. If there's anybody after Kabir, we ask you to be ready as well.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, first of all, my name is Kadir Aware. First of all, I love this country because we have a rule of law, and rule of law should be respected. I'm not here to defend any violation Blue Nile done, and I respect all the opinion of the fire department. One thing, some people disagree with me in this community because our refugee immigrant coming to this country, when they break a law, I am tough on them. I tell them, you are in the United States, you must follow the rule of law. So, Blue Nile broke a lot of law, a lot of rule. and that's not accepted. And again, I'm not here to defend that. But I'm asking City Council. This gentleman worked in UPS for more than 10, 15 years. And he just bought this building 6, 7 months ago for $300,000. He worked very hard to put this dream together as an American dream business person. So I personally guarantee this City Council, as tomorrow, 9 o'clock, I'm going to be in his shop, if you guys give him a chance for 30 days, like his lawyer said, and work in the leadership of the U.S. Fire Marshal to give us a direction every single day for a week and months, 30 days. I guarantee this City Council to go to his place to make sure he clear up this body shop, to make sure he not do any body work in his place. This way his dream not be died in there. Because if you shut him down, he owns $300,000, he's going to be in the street. I know he violated a lot of rules, but we have to understand sometime need more time people is to learn, and he is an educated man, okay? So again, personally, as a member of this community, I work with those people and I fight for them, and at the same time, I fight against them when they break a law. And some of them don't like me for that, I accept that. But I respect the rule of law, and I ask you guys, even if you didn't accept our request, please do not take his dealership conditioner we use in that place. Take his mechanic shop away from him, because if you revoke everything he have, he's not going to have anything to work for except $300,000 in debt in the building. He just bought it 6 months ago. And again, I made a commitment in this community to make a difference, and I'm certainly going to do that. If you guys, City Council and Mayor, give me a chance, from tomorrow I'm going to work with him every single day for next 30 days. I personally can take all those kind of paint out of there and make sure this business is alive. And if he broke a lien rule after that, I tell you guys, go slap him in the head and take his license away. And that's the fact. So I appreciate it, and I'm willing to answer any questions, how I work with him. I know the gentleman for many years, and he listening to me, and I'm going to be there with him to make sure those violations not repeated again.
Tyler, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else who want to speak to the council? Well, very good. Thank you so much. City Council, I'm now going to turn it over to you. Do you have any questions, comments, motions at all? Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Mike Cooper first, please. Mike, what was the original conditional use permit for this facility?
It was for automobile sales and service. Service being defined as oil changes, those kind of things, but not repair.
Okay.
Councilor Rolfing?
Mike, is there a way that this could be set up so that if the Blue Nile was found to do any of the major repair or body work or anything like that again, that they could be shut down immediately through resolution?
Well, are you asking me for my opinion, or?
Yeah, with the conditional use permit that they've got right now.
Okay, under the conditional use permit that they currently have, no repair work is allowed, such as the body shop and the...
Right.
Yep.
So what you've done is said they have...
They have a 2-year track record of continuous violations. Right. We continue to have inspections, citations. Again, we've tried to work with the applicant to make him understand what the rules are on more than one occasion. Mm-hmm. And again, you've heard tonight what the defense is.
Understand. And my question is, if we would pass a resolution or whatever it would be tonight, is there a way for us to do that would say, if this was found again, that you could shut him down immediately rather than shut him down now? In other words, give him another chance and say, you know, you've had your 3 strikes, the next one you're just plain done.
I'll defer to the city attorney's office on that one. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
May I, Mayor?
Please, City Attorney Pfeiffer.
Councilor Rolfing, I believe The way I would read the ordinance is the city council has the discretion to revoke the permit, or it also may take such other action as it may deem necessary to obtain compliance. So that gives you a lot of latitude as a council as far as what you want to do with it. However, based on the public hearing requirement, I would read it to mean that if it is to be revoked, it would require probably another public hearing in front of this body if you were to do it again, and you couldn't make an automatic trigger.
Could the, Mr. Mayor?
Please. Yes, Councilor Ruffin.
Mr. Fifely, could we ask the fire marshal to, if that was found again, to give him the authority to shut him down until the council had a chance to hear it? If they found another if they had painting going on?
Counselor, if I may, Mayor?
Please.
I would read the ordinance to say that only the council has the authority to actually revoke the permit, and you couldn't delegate that discretion to the fire marshal.
We wouldn't revoking it, giving him the authority to revoke it. We would still revoke it. It would be, they would have the ability to just shut it down until the council had a time to hear it.
Again, I think you'd have to have the ordinance is very specific, Counselor. It says that only the council can revoke it. So if, based on the line that you're going at, I think you could put whatever conditions you want, if you want the permit to continue, but at some point it would have to come back to you if you want to actually revoke it as a body.
Could you think of a way to make that happen?
I'm looking to a parallel where you have like last chance agreements in employment matters where an employee agrees that, and acknowledges, yes, I messed up on the job, for lack of a better way to put it, and that if I do so again, I understand that my position will be terminated, and you could make similar type of conditions on this one. I would think you'd have that discretion where you could say, if this individual violates any of the terms of the conditional use permit one more time, it's going to come immediately before this body, and he understands that it'll be subject to immediate revocation by the council.
Okay, thank you.
Councilor Karski.
Director Cooper, if we did revoke the conditional use permit, where would that leave the property as far as what options would be available?
Well, the revocation would become effective by action of the council. And so the use of the property for automobile sales and service would no longer be allowed. So essentially, they would have to come back and begin another process to either apply for a conditional use or change it to some type of business that is allowed without a conditional use.
Okay. And if I could, a second question. How many times was this business cited, actually cited, not just observed, but cited for renting a paint booth?
Fire Marshal Lanier, could you answer that question, please?
Sir, we've been out to cite that business at 2 different times. Early on, a citation was issued on October 7th of 2010. That citation was paid. Another subsequent citation was issued on April 8th of 2010, and that was paid as well. Sir.
So it's been over a year and a half since we've actually had a citation for running a painting operation at this location.
Yes, sir. We have issued subsequent cease and desist orders to the property owner as well.
Why would we issue a cease and desist and not run another citation?
The last cease and desist order was this summer, during the summertime. At that point, a judgment call is made by the inspector whether or not they're going to issue a citation. There really is no cause for an absence of a citation at that point.
Councilor Bach.
Question, Fire Marshal Lanier, what does a cease and desist order look like?
A cease and desist order is written on an inspection notice. The fire inspector provides guidance to the business owner as to what the conditions are for the cease and desist. In each one of these occasions, the language was specific to stopping the spray operation and ceasing from that operation. We would have also given them instructions on what are ways to demonstrate compliance with the fire code. The business owner would have been provided information on how he can diminish the level of flammables that he has on site. Any equipment that's required for a spray painting operation should basically disappear, and by accomplishing those objectives, he can demonstrate compliance with the fire code.
Then if I might, one more. Mr. Lanier, there's several, if we go through the list that was presented by as part of our evidence, there's several times when our folks have gone in and inspected and found messes, and then there are places where it specifically says fire inspections were passed in between. Can you talk about that a little bit?
The fire inspections in repair garages are done on an annual basis. So in cases where you see passing results for a fire inspection, those were annual fire inspections that were done based on the issuance of a license and that annual time coming around for their annual fire inspection.
So you were inspecting them, I apologize, Mr. Mayor, you were inspecting them as an auto body shop?
No, ma'am, we were inspecting them as a repair garage.
Okay, good, thank you.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
I have a couple questions for the owner.
Yes. And sir, is it Kalo?
Yeah.
Kalo, thank you.
Thank you for coming here today. I guess my first question is in your statement you said you've made some mistakes and that you didn't understand. I guess to me, what part of this paint and refinishing operation that you had going on here did you not understand should not be happening?
Yeah, I know it's illegal. I shouldn't be paint operations there. But right now I rent the building out of, to do anybody work out of the city, I mean, in a T. So I promise you guys it's not going to happen again. And then,
okay, would you be, on something like this, if the council decided that we were going to amend the conditional use permit, and part of that would be that you would have to submit to an inspection at any time when our fire marshal or his staff can, would you do that?
yes, yes, sir.
Thank you.
Councilor Engelhardt?
Question for Mike Cooper.
Mike?
Mike, his conditional use permit is as a service operation, not a repair. Is that correct?
Yes, it was auto sales
And
and
service.
service.
So,
In some cases, we have just auto sales. Some
So-
places,
if they are even just making the repairs and painting it off-site, that's not in compliance?
correct.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor,
Councilor Brown?
I will move revocation.
Second, Jamison. Councilor Brown's made a motion to revoke the conditional use permit for this business. It was seconded by Councilor Jamison. Discussion. Yes, Councilor Ruffin.
In lieu of Cato's mortgage and the things that he's got invested in this, I would urge the council to vote no on this and come up with some kind of compromise that we can allow him to stay in the used car business, even if it's not the service, but at least the used car business, so we have some way to stay in business. I like Councilor Anderson's idea of allowing the fire marshal to inspect at any time, and I think 2 strikes is enough, and the 3rd strike he would be out of that business. But I think we need to come up with some kind of compromise here to allow Mr. Cato to stay in some sort of business and be able to pay off what he's got there, and just be able to do that. Thank you.
Councilor Muck.
You know, I don't disagree with Councilor Rolfing, but we're at a point where, and I sympathize with Kalo. I've had conversations with him, and I understand what's happened. But when you look at the evidence that we've seen in terms of, I mean, it's not 2 strikes. It's 4 and maybe 6 strikes. It's at least 4 when you look at fire violations and illegal spraying alone. That's not counting the auto body repair that goes against the conditional use permit as well. I struggle, but if you have a substitute motion, I would support it just for the conversation's sake.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Okay, I would like to make a substitute motion that we amend the conditional use permit that allows for motor vehicle sales, display, and service just to be for motor vehicle sales and display, that we just take service out of there completely. There would be no more service done on the property at all. And that also that the owner of the property would allow the fire inspection team to come in at any time to inspect that property.
Seconded, Rolfing.
Okay, Councilor Anderson Jr. and Councilor Rolfing, thank you. Before we proceed, Denise, did you get that?
For motor vehicle sale and display, and owner allow fire inspection team to come in.
Friendly
And
amendment?
inspect at any time.
Friendly amendment?
Excuse me.
Friendly amendment, if I might, Mr. Mayor. Take out that part about allowing the fire marshal. I don't think that the fire marshal needs to ask permission to come in and inspect.
Okay, that was something I was talking over
Okay.
with the city attorney.
Does it need to be in there?
I think there might be a need to do that so that we still have that option to make sure that they are running a safe business there in that location.
Gotcha, thank you.
So we're going to leave that in there.
Yes, sir.
Okay, Denise, would you mind just briefly stating what you believe the amendment is?
Yes, sir. The substitute motion by Councilor Anderson and seconded by Councilor Rolfing is for motor vehicles sale and display, and for the owner to allow the fire inspection to come in and inspect at any time.
Correct.
Very good. Mr. Cooper, would you mind just coming forward, please? In your years of working in this, is this make sense what Councilor Anderson Jr. and Councilor Rolfing are recommending?
We understand the amendment to the conditional use, and we will continue to be aggressive as far as the enforcement.
Very good. Council? Yes, Councilor Urbanbach?
One question, Mr. Cooper. Is there, and maybe I've just read this too many times, but with the conditional use permit, when they're displaying vehicles on this lot, are the vehicles to be pointed away from the street? Should they, or is there a rule about that? It doesn't matter. Okay,
No,
good.
we don't
Thank
have
you.
that.
I apologize.
Councilor Jameson, sorry. Councilor Jameson?
Just for discussion purposes, I mean, if the conditional use is for sales only, he could be doing whatever he wants in his storage in his building. He's still violating a lot of safety codes, and so just because we're eliminating service in this building doesn't prohibit him from doing what he's been doing or allowing to occur in his building. And from my sense, from my point of view, I see, frankly, an absentee landlord, an absentee owner. The city has spent an enormous amount of time and effort trying to corral this individual, and it hasn't happened yet. I think this council has done a great job of being a pro-business council, but I think our first and higher responsibility is to the safety of the citizens of our city. And if an accident were to occur in the next 30 days, God forbid the worst, an explosion that harmed somebody, we will have sat here and listened and given a further opportunity for that to occur. We have the ability tonight to stop this from happening. I think that's what we need to do, and I would encourage you to stick with the original motion and revoke the conditional use.
Councilor Karski?
Two things, I guess. I have to concur with part of what Councilor Jameson said. It concerns me greatly that even if you weren't running a painting operation yourself in this shop, but you allowed somebody else to do it as the landlord, the potential for loss of property for sure, and potential for loss of life is extremely great. As someone who's been around that type of industry for over 20 years, it does concern me what was going on in there, especially with the proximity of all the residential properties right there. I guess the second thing would be for maybe our attorney, Dave Fifley, can this motion in a year or the conditional use be amended again at any time?
If I may, Mayor, according to what the ordinance is under 15.59.075, it would be the director at any time bringing it to the attention of the Planning Commission that would then make a recommendation onto the council. So it could occur at any time again, Councilor Karski, in terms of if there's found to be non-compliance at a future date.
Councilor Brown.
To follow up on Councilor Karski, these are some of the, in the neighborhood, some of the oldest buildings of the city, most volatile to fire, and also one of the poorest neighborhoods in the city. So we don't know what kind of protection is around that building. Furthermore, our audience is full tonight of business people who we will put through the ringer because they maybe had one violation for an underage sale. Yeah, we're willing to forgive multiple violations here that are risk factors for people's lives. I encourage you to revoke the license.
Councilor Anderson, Jr.
I respect all the comments that we've heard tonight on this issue. But there's one thing I have worked very hard with our fire chief, with our code enforcement officers, and if there's one thing that I've seen in our code enforcement that we've worked very hard to change, and that is due process. Being able to give out these citations and everything, I think that's a great thing, and if they're being ignored, the next step is to, bring that to the council. But I've seen other code violations much worse than this out of illegal businesses or other code violations that we're still working with the property owners to correct those code violations, where we have to take them to court because they continually either just totally ignore these citations that they're getting, or they're just totally ignoring us. I feel that here today, I think we have gotten this business owner's attention, whether he's been there at the business or he's been gone. I think that we have to take a look at this as a whole, and this is just another part of that due process. And I just feel that by removing the service part of the conditional use permit, we are making a very clear statement to this business owner and saying this is your last chance, before we just go and revoke. So I hope that you'll support the amendment.
Council, you've had some really good discussion, and I think that everybody's had a chance to speak on this. Councilor Aguilar is not interested in speaking on this particular topic. If there's something new, feel free to bring it up. Otherwise, we do have an amendment to the main motion, and I would encourage you to maybe consider that. A substitute motion. If there is no further discussion, let's vote on the substitute motion. Roll call vote, please.
Councilor Erpenbach?
No.
Jameson?
No.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
No.
Anderson?
Yes.
No.
Brown?
That is failed 3-4. We now have the motion that was submitted by Councilor Brown, I believe, the revocation motion. And is there any further discussion on that particular item? Yes, Councilor Rolfing.
I would still urge a no vote and come up with some kind of compromise on this, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes.
I believe we're voting on the revocation.
Yes.
And for no other reason that we want to be pro-business in this city. And this gentleman has made a commitment in the last 6 months to buy a building that we're trying, in a business area that we're trying to rehabilitate. And yes, he's made some mistakes on it, but by his commitment to put that kind of money in to this kind of a business and to sell some cars, which Councilor Anderson and I tried to limit him to, I think he showed some good faith, and he wants to go ahead and do that kind of thing. I, for one, am going to vote no on this one because of that reason, not because I don't think he's made some mistakes, but because I think he deserves that chance. Thank you.
There has been a recommendation by City Attorney Fifely that we resubmit the revocation motion. Councilor Brown, would you be willing to do that?
I move to move for the revocation.
Very good. And do I have a second?
Yes.
Second.
Councilor Brown's made a motion to revoke. It was seconded by Councilor Jameson. Thank you very much. We now have a motion to consider. We've had some public dialogue, or some dialogue amongst the council. Council, any other further dialogue on this topic that may be distinct from what we've already discussed? Very good. In that case, let's vote on the revocation motion.
Councilor Erpenbach?
Yes.
Councilor Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
No.
Rolfing?
No.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
No.
Brown?
Yes.
That is passed 4-3. Item number 11.
Move to 2012 retail liquor license for Empire Restaurants Incorporated. The Encore at Empire Place to be operated at 4200 West Empire Place, including Sunday sales, effective January 1st, 2012, with conditional use permit 2011-0905 being approved on 10/5/11, pending final inspection per Fire, Health, and Building Services. Item 12, special one-day liquor license request for NDC Boosters, nonprofit organization, to be operated at the Old Courthouse Museum, 200 West 6th Street, for a dance club fundraiser on February 11th, 2012. And item 13, various package liquor license renewals for 2012 to be operated at various locations in the city of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, identified as Exhibit D, which includes those with underage sale violations in the past 12 months.
Lori, welcome.
Thank you. Lori Hogstead with the City Attorney's Office. First, I thought we could cover items 11 and 12. Item 11 is, as Denise read, a request for a new retail liquor license. This is based on our census numbers from 2010. This would be the first license to come before the council, and I would expect we will have probably 5 more after the first of the year. I can certainly answer questions on 11 and 12. Item 13, it's certainly up to you, but that will be the packaged liquor licenses with underage sales, and if you wanted to, we could take that as a separate item.
Move to approve 11 and 12.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Brown's made a motion to approve item number 11 and item number 12, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. Is there any discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilors Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Is there a motion on item 13? Lori, comments?
All right. Item 13 is the list of those businesses that have had an underage sale in the past 12 months. I do have one on the list that has requested deferral. He was unable to be here this evening. He had a prior commitment, and I would like to request deferral to January 3rd of 2012 for Gregor's Eastside Liquor, Inc., Gregor's Eastside Liquor at 1614 South Sycamore. So I don't know if we want to handle that one first and then move on to the others.
Move to defer to January 3rd, Gregor's Eastside Liquor.
Second, Rolfing.
Councilor Brown, thank you. There was a motion to defer that particular item, seconded by Councilor Rolfing. Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That's passed 7-0.
Okay, thank you. And for the rest of these on the list, I do have applicants present for each each location. The management plans have been submitted and have been approved by Officer Greg Schmidt of the Police Department. In attendance tonight, along with myself, our Lieutenant Kaiser from the Police Department, who is very familiar with the underage sales and the stings, and then also Gail Easlin with the City Attorney's Office can certainly assist with any legal questions we may have. The very first one, for Tina Elamihu, Inc., 6th Street Market, 400 Northwest Avenue. I just had something brought to my attention by Lieutenant Kaiser, and if it would be all right, he would like to address you first on this one. Okay?
Lori, can I ask, are we going to go through 14 of these tonight?
We are, but you know what? I've got a good system. They're going to line up. They know who comes next. So if you would like to hear from them all, you can.
Before we start, Council, is it your intention that you'd like to hear from all 14 in terms of what they are doing to prevent this from happening in the future? Or what would you like before we start this tonight? Councilor Urbanbach?
You know, Mr. Mayor, I can't speak for the entire council, but I can speak for my opinion about this process, and it is something that we have done over the last several months when this has happened. We realize as a council that the state government ties our hands. We cannot actually revoke these people's licenses, but we can put them up here and ask them questions and put them on the line to say, you know what, we don't approve, and we aren't going to put up with that in Sioux Falls, that underage sales are illegal, and that we don't want it to happen here. And so, from my standpoint, I would like to hear from each one of them. I want them all to stand up here and talk to us about it.
Would you prefer that they come up one by one, or do you want all 14 to stand up at one time? What would you prefer, Councilor? The only reason I'm asking, we've never had 14 in my year and a half coming up one by one. Councilor Brown, please.
I would say 14 is all the more reason why we need to do it, because clearly they're not getting the message.
Councilor Karski?
I've only been through this a couple of times, but I feel like a dog barking behind a fence that you know can't do anything to you, and you're just going to keep rattling the chain link fence and making the dog bark louder. Until we can get the state to change things, we can sit here and we can question these people, and I think we need to also. I'm just disappointed in this whole process, but I think they do need to stand tall and answer questions to us.
Lori, I think I've heard the wishes of the council. We've got 14 of them. Folks, if you don't get the message after tonight, find another place to do business, okay? The council has been incredibly clear. They have. I've been on this job a year and a half, and they have reiterated this time and time again. And to their point, we've never had 14 before. So here we go with the round. So, Lori, who's first on the list of the 14?
Well, first, I would like Lieutenant Kaiser to talk about the very first one for Tina Elamihu for the 6th Street Market. He had some information he wanted to share this evening that he just brought to my attention.
Dan, welcome.
Lieutenant Dan Kaiser with the Police Department. The one thing I wanted to bring up, I know this is going to be a long night going through this, so I'll make it quick, but what I did realize was in the liquor sting that we did December 12th of this year at the 6th Street Market, the person who sold to the underage person in the sting was Tina Elamihu, the owner of the 6th Street Market. And I don't know where that changes and how that sets with things for the license revocation, but I just wanted to make everybody aware that that was what was happened, what had happened in this case, and also that the 6th Street Market also had violations with underage sales in the stings in 2007 and in 2009.
Very good, thank you. Thanks, Dan. Sir, would you mind coming forward, introducing yourself, and then explaining to the council what it is that your plans are to prevent this from happening again in the future. And then, Lori, if you could have the others line up, we'd appreciate it. Sir, just please state your name, your business, and what your plans are to stop this from happening again.
Okay. Thank you for giving me this opportunity for the mayor and city councils. Of course, I admit and accept this.
Sir, you need to state your name.
My name is Anna Alamayo,
and you need to state your business.
6th Street Market.
And now go ahead and tell us what you're going to do to make sure this doesn't happen again.
Yeah. I apologize what I did. What I did was, that day I was really tired. I was by myself for 18 hours working, but they were calm after I worked 16 hours. My co-helpers, workers was sick. She couldn't come to work. And I asked his ID. I saw it. I saw the computer. I know that's not much, but my mind is changing. The ID and the computer is vice versa. And then I thought he's overage, but honestly speaking, he can't tell he's underage. That's why I asked him his ID. Otherwise, really, I'm very serious for this kind of things. If you see, since I have this business, before I have this business and after I have this business, you can see it or ask anybody how this neighborhood is changed. There was a lot of mess. I don't like it. I have one daughter. I don't need anybody to mess with bad things. Not only that, as I am living in the neighborhood, work in that neighborhood, I have responsibility for everything. Please. I know that's a mistake. That's a common mistake. I consider that.
Council, any questions of this gentleman? Councilor Mbach?
Mr. Mayor, very often when we talk to folks like this, we ask what happened to the employee who made the underage sale. And very often that person has been fired. But since it was you, the owner, who made the underage sale, can you tell us what are your plans specifically for yourself and for your staff to make this not happen again?
What I did is right now, anybody we consider like 30 years or under, we have to check the ID. Plus, we try to work at least 8 or 9 hours and to avoid this kind of mistake. Otherwise, really, if you ask the neighborhood kids and families, they can tell you how we are doing. We're really doing fine.
Thank you.
Councilor Jameson.
Question for the city attorney or Gail Ainsling, if Gail...
Gail.
Just in my experience, I don't know that I've experienced where the owner has been the one who's failed the sting, and I think there's a different level of... if we could have Gail address this.
I'm sorry.
Gail, is there a different level of responsibility for the owner of the establishment?
Well, it's not entirely clear, Counselor. I mean, there is provision in the state law for you to reject a licensee if he's not a suitable person. So this issue could come into play there. It's not clear. It's not been decided by a court. But I would say, in my opinion, it's probably not something you can do because there's other statutes, numerous, that talk about the Secretary of Revenue only having the authority to revoke or suspend. And there's also a safe harbor law that comes into play, and that provides protection to the licensee if an employee is sold and there's no more than 2 violations in 24 months. So I guess the safe harbor law would not apply here, but the fact remains you're only left with recommending suspension or revocation. It's still up to the Secretary of Revenue.
Thank you.
Very good question, very good answer. Councilor Anderson, Jr.
Gail or Lori, how many have we sent up to the state requesting they be revoked, and how many have been approved over the years, I guess?
We have not sent any in the time that I've done this, which has been a long time.
but following the rules that Gail stated, we really haven't had a business fall under those rules as far as the state
Well,
rules.
I guess not that I'm aware of. We haven't, I haven't been alerted to the fact that it's been the owner of the business that has sold until this particular one tonight, and that is something that in the future, when we have the underage stings and so on, that I will check and make sure that whether it was the employee or if it was the owner of the business.
Okay, thank you.
One other issue that comes to mind from the state law is if you're going to actually move to recommend revocation or suspension, that licensee needs 30 days' notice. And that's not the case here, right? Lori, is that correct? Written notice. So there's that added protection for the licensee. You can't have a hearing on suspension or revocation recommendation unless there's been 30 days.
And all fines are set by the state also?
Yes.
Lori, who's next?
All right, next we have Grevco Inc., Shop and Cart West, 5112 West 12th Street, Dave Grevlis.
Hi, Dave, welcome.
Dave Grevlis, Brandon, South Dakota, representing Grevco Incorporated. You guys see me here before, luckily not for a long time. I've been probably the most public advocate of this sting thing and what's wrong with it. And the reason that is I could write a book about the bad luck in my business, because I really don't think there's somebody who works any harder than me preventing this, and it's still, obviously I'm here because it's not foolproof. So I'm here to tell you this is going to keep happening, and here's the problem. It's the employees. And this is a perfect example to prove my case. I've been trying for years. This is the example. This particular store I'm speaking of tonight has never failed a sting in the history of stings in Sioux Falls. I don't know how far back they go. Never. You can check your records. And I also have another store that's never failed a sting in the history. I'm down to one. My policies have always been the same. The owners have been the same. They've had to deal with me. I usually do the hiring, and I'm the one that gets in their face and tells them my policy and make sure I don't hire them unless I think they're going to follow it. But unfortunately, you don't know until that night that they come. This particular store, again, I'll say it the third time, never failed a sting. The reason is I've had the same crew there for years and years and years, and they have made thousands of dollars in bonuses for passing stings. I don't even think about it. They are so good. Well, came to be I had to hire somebody, had to change a little bit of shifts, hired a guy. I hired somebody that's in upper management. I'm sorry, I'm not going to take everybody's, I'm taking a little more time, but this is worth it. I think I'm trying to change the council's idea of what really happens out here in the street. I hired somebody that nobody would hire. He was upper management, ran a whole territory in sales position, and he was injured and lost his job because he couldn't do his job anymore. And he couldn't get a job in my level of a convenience store because he was overqualified. I said, you know, I've known you for years. I'm going to give you a chance. And guess what? It was his first night. And now here's a guy that I totally trusted to keep my success rate going there. And we had a nice talk. I said, hey, I'm going to hire you. Nobody else will. I know you're a quality person, and you're going to appreciate the job. And but please, make sure you card everybody that doesn't look 50 years old. That's my policy. And I went through the whole thing with him. Well, that night is his first night, and he actually asked this 20 and 3/4-year-old man how old he was. He was nervous. He was looking at his ID. And he forgot all the rules I told him about red IDs. And he's trying to do the math. And he said, I think you're old enough. You're about the same age as my son. And he's trying to get this young man to help him. And he wouldn't say anything. So he did the math, and he did it wrong, and he made the sale. He went to court, fought it, and because it wasn't too big a deal with our court system, it was brought down to malicious mischief. Didn't even lose his driver's license. He came in that day and said, geez, that was no big deal. I fired him, of course. I fired him that night. This guy was making a lot of money at his old job. He was going to be a convenience store clerk, and I had to fire him. Probably one of the most quality person I've hired in a long time. So that's real life. okay? He was out of a job now, and he beat the system. He was 100% at fault. I'm taking zero responsibility for him failing that sting. And I think every business owner here is going to say the same thing. I'm welcoming anybody in that council to spend 24 hours at any of my stores and you see what goes on. I can't explain what happens in these nights of these things. I tell you what, if I'm able to retire someday, it's one of the things that I would just never be able to understand. And I would fill this room with customers get carded into my stores that are 60 years old. I could fill this room with my employees that tell them that they fear me from this happening. And I'm proud of my record. I pass 98% of the stings that go on, that with the same policies that I do at every store. It's the employee. And they're not getting anything happening to them except fired, and they go get another job. That's the problem, not the business owners.
Council, any questions of Mr. Grebels? Lori, next. Thank you. Thanks, Mr.
Thank you.
Grebels.
All right, next we have Hy-Vee Inc., Hy-Vee Food Store Number 1, 1601 South Sycamore, Al Devaney.
Hi, I'm Al Delaney, the store director at 26 and Sycamore. I understand the frustration of the council. I agree with you 100%. I have a 17-year-old daughter, and I don't want alcohol in her hands. We have a very sophisticated point-of-sale cash registers in our store. Our employees simply need to key in the date, the birth date, and it tells them whether they're of legal age or not. Since this sting that we failed back in February, I have 2 TAM coordinators in our store that are certified. All of my full-time people in my wine and spirits department, all of my front-end managers, my assistant managers are TAM trained now. We also have overrides in place so that any time any alcohol comes through our front end, they have to have one of my front-end personnel over. They cannot they can scan it, but it will not let them make a sale without one of the assistant managers doing an override on the system. So that's what we are doing at our store, and we don't want the alcohol in the kids' hands either, just like you don't.
Council, any questions for Mr. Delaney? Thank you, Mr. Delaney.
All right, up next we have Hy-Vee Inc., Hy-Vee Food Store Number 5, 3020 East 10th Street, and we have C.J. Wade and James Simmons.
C.J. Wade, the wine and spirits manager at East 10th Hy-Vee.
And James Siemens, the store director at the Hy-Vee on East 10th.
You know, we have the same safety nets that Al's store does, so I'm not going to go through all those again for you.
Thank you.
The one thing I will say is it does come down to the employee. In our situation, you know, James is willing to put money into things. My initial thought was maybe we'd get a card reader for them to scan IDs, but like in this instance, our employee didn't even ask for an ID. You know, I'm the TAM certified instructor at our store. We've TAM certified 44 employees. We've actually, since we had a violation last year, have taken even the TAM trained employees who are part-time and they don't work in wine and spirits now, they're not allowed to sell. So in the main store, it's just management team, and in the wine and spirits building, it's just my staff. So we're working hard at it.
Mr. Simmons?
And everyone that sells it is over 21. We just make sure that they're TAM certified. We take it very serious.
Gentlemen, thank you. Council, yes, Councilor Urbanbach?
Question, clarification. Do you require that the clerk ask for management to come over? Do you have the same override as the other store? You do? No. Because you do have 2 in a row, 2 years in a row, and that's concerning to us. Thank you.
Us too.
Thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Lori?
All right, I-90 Fuel Services, Inc., gas step number 7, 1731 South Cliff Avenue, Brian Sheffield and Ryan Funke.
Good evening. My name is Brian Sheffield with I-90 Fuel Services. Let me begin by letting you know that we are very committed to deterring every attempt by those underage to purchase alcohol. Our company certainly recognizes its role in making sure that illegal alcohol sales are prevented. In the case of the sale that we are discussing tonight, sadly the employee didn't follow our policy. The employee didn't card and likewise did not run the date of birth through our point of sale system. Our policy clearly states, and all employees are thoroughly trained to card all customers who appear to be under the age of 50 and to run the date of birth from the ID through the point of sale system. As a matter of fact, all employees are thoroughly trained and certified using the programs outlined by the South Dakota Retailers Association and accepted by the state of South Dakota. In addition, we provide employees a bonus for passing a sting. The employee in this case was appropriately trained and sadly still failed the sting. In this case, the employee received a written reprimand and received follow-up reinforcement training. A second violation for this employee would lead to termination. We share your concerns. We remain committed on our efforts.
Mr. Sheffield, thank you, Council. Questions of Mr. Sheffield? Thank you, sir. Lori?
All right, Lewis Drugs, Inc., Lewis Drugs Southeast, 4409 East 26th, Herb Rosine.
Good evening, Mayor,
Hi, Herb.
City Council. My name's Herb Rosine. I'm the Senior Loss Prevention Manager for Lewis Drugs Incorporated. On the 4/28 of 11 of this year, a sting was conducted at our Lewis Southeast store. At Lewis Drug Store, we strive to train all of our employees on the proper way to check IDs, and we have a point of sale in our register system where the date has to be keyed in. Several things failed at this time. The employee, who was not a young kid, as you might assume, was a 10-year employee at our stores. She misread the date, and it was keyed in the register and was accepted. It was a sad thing to see. However, Lewis Drug has zero tolerance on this, and it will not be allowed. The employee was terminated. During the training process, all employees must sign an agreement on their alcohol training and tobacco training that if at any time they fail a sting, that termination can and probably will occur. We will continue to strive on training our employees the correct way. Like I said, every employee goes through an orientation program at the beginning of their employment, and it is totally stressed to them on what can happen to them and us.
Mr. Rosine, thank you. Council, any questions of Mr. Rosine? Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
All right, next up, Myung Corporation, Inc., for Liquor Stadium, 945 South Marion Road, number 100, represented by Young Chang.
Mr. Chang, welcome.
Good evening. My name is Young Cheng, as owner of a liquor stadium, Sioux Falls. First of all, please understand, my English knowledge is not that good knowledge.
We can understand you,
I
sir.
try my best to explain everything.
We can understand you.
Okay. Actually, I started my business on June of 1995. And it's over 16 years. Last mid of January, I sold to the minors. That is, I regret that one. That time, actually, during the weekdays, this business, during the weekdays, is a very slow night. So I have a lot of documentation. It's a paperwork, especially my corporation calendar is end of January, end of December, end of years. I prepare a lot of documentation. So whole years. For example, total beer sale, total liquor, wine, everything. Also, total expenses, everything. I have to calculate monthly basis and also yearly basis. I go to calculating that one, but suddenly the policeman showed a badge for the missile. I asked him, what happened? He said, you sold the minors. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a lack of concentration. So I regret for that. And actually, currently, my business is family business. Myself, a lot of times work, and my wife. And very few times, if I need any help, my brother-in-law, his bar helpers, he from time to time help me. My wife, all the time he exactly catch the sting. He caught all the time. She check ID all the time. This just my mistake is first time. But anyhow, my management plan is I will have some TAM trainer. I will do that. Actually, last I think May to July, August, I tried to contact. Her name is Dina Dawn. She is a TAM instructor in Sioux Falls. Try to have a class, but their main schedule is not good match with my working schedule. So I tried to make a class. She suggested me to 5 people in one class. It's not easy. So anyhow, time goes by. Okay, next time. Recently, I contact again her. It's December 4th, I think. Contact her again. Currently have no any schedule fixed. So anyhow, whenever she make the schedule for the TAN, she called me. She promised to call me. We have a schedule like this. Then I will follow that one, and I will. First, I start myself first. Next, I try to explain everything to my wife. My brother, he is 100%. He's perfect to me. It's no problem, I think. But anyhow, I try to concentrate, more concentration to check everything. And after that, I don't do any book, the paperworking, not anymore. Just
So,
in the back room, I
Lori,
trust.
Lori, in this case, was it this gentleman who sold the
Yes.
Falcon? And you are the owner?
Yes.
So this is our second one tonight, okay. Council, any questions of Mr. Chang? We do have a pattern going here, and that is the two family-owned businesses are the ones that we're struggling with. I don't know if this pattern's going to continue, but...
Yeah, before the
Ms. Chang, thank you.
I have
Ms.
some
Chang, thank you.
employees, but
Thank you very much.
It's better.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lori, who's next?
All right, next we have Nikki's La Mexicana, Inc., Nikki's La Mexicana, 905 East 8th Street, Michelle Reta.
Ms. Rita, welcome.
Good evening. I'm Michelle Retta, and I own Nikki's La Mexicana. In our case, I had an employee that had been there for 2 months. There was another employee with her that has been with us for 6 years. She happened to go back by the meat department where we have our store when this happened. She did look at the ID. It was a red ID. She didn't look at it well enough, and she handed it back to the gal. And all I can say is she sold it. She was terminated that evening. I do train people. We do have in our cash registers, which we did not have prior to this, where we put in the dates for the birth date. So that's something new that we have. Like I say, I train people to the best of my knowledge, but again, it comes down to, does the employee follow your policy that you have? That's, I try and pick and choose for our employees that we hire. It comes down to it to be difficult at times to trust the employee, but
Ms. Rita, thank you. Any questions of
comes
Ms.
down to
Rita?
it.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next is Rid Inc. LLC for Food and Fuel, 4701 West 12th Street, Bhupendra Gandhi.
Mr. Grandi, welcome.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Mayor and Councillor. So, I am from the Rid Inc. LLC, 4701 West 12th Street. So, now we have take, after this happened violence, so we take the action for that. We before do the 3 months meeting, now we do the every month first week of the month, we take the meeting. And now we buy the ID check machine, and we have the calendar, so we are not make mistake by any way. So we have tobacco checking and other thing checking.
Council, any questions of? Thank you very much.
All right, Taylor Oil Company, Pro Shop Liquors, 3300 South Minnesota Avenue, Heather Boyson.
Hello, my name is Heather Boyson with Taylor's Pantry. We also take our situation very seriously. We've been in this business for almost 20 years. We feel that we have a very stellar record. Unfortunately, we had an instance where an employee, again, did not follow procedures and unfortunately sold to a minor. She has been under a probationary period, is now allowed to run the cash register by herself. We are now requiring all cashiers card everyone under the age of 50. I have a lot of regular customers who are not thrilled with our actions, but that is something that we feel that we need to do in order to maintain the license and to fulfill the letter of the law. I will also say that in all of the years that we have been in business, in all of the people that we have actually carded and confiscated IDs and turned into the police department, which according to my records are over 20, because I do reward my employees for stings and for confiscating IDs, not a single person has ever been prosecuted by the city of Sioux Falls and have ever gone through the court system. So we have a situation, and I'm going to use this as a little bit of a pulpit, that we have people that do due diligence and owners that do an extreme amount of training and spend a lot of money to make sure that our employees do their job. And when they do their job and we reward them for it, there is never an instance where someone comes back and says, this person has been prosecuted. So I would encourage you that if the prosecution is taking place, that we get some type of feedback, because that will ensure that my employees know that what they are doing and following the letter of the law, that something is happening to these people that are purposely coming into our store to break the law. So we take it very, very seriously. We have put a lot of steps in place. Again, as the gentleman said before me, the state doesn't necessarily give us an appropriate calendar of time in which to do the TAM training. We've contracted with an independent provider to give us those resources, and we contact her, and she trains my employees as they are hired, so we don't have a period of waiting and put them on a cash register before they are able to be prepared for carding individuals.
Heather, great job. And Lori, I'm going to ask you a favor. I want Heather's email address and contact information tomorrow. This is the first I've ever heard of this in my year and a half, Heather.
Thank you.
And I will follow up on it. I don't understand it either. And I bet the council doesn't, at least the rookies. We probably don't. And maybe Councilor Brown does. But we'll follow up on it, Heather, and I will get an answer to you.
Thank you.
As well as I'll relay it to the people of Sioux Falls as well. Great job.
Thank you.
Now, question, Heather, you can't leave yet.
One second.
Councilor Brown.
It's more of a comment. Thank you for pointing that out, Heather. That's a great point. But for all of you that are here, the liquor industry has the most powerful lobby in state government. You, by voicing your concern on that very point to that lobbying group in Pierre, can make that change faster than any of us.
We have actually made that point to our lobbying group. There has been no response from our legislators, unfortunately, which is discouraging to say the least. We have brought many things forward to the state legislature. There are all sorts of inequities with different licenses are offered, with different hours of operation, with different days that certain things can be sold depending on the license that you have. There are many of us, I think, that are sitting in this room, myself included, that are very involved in state government as well as what happens on the city level in our business, because it is so restrictive and because we know that we need to follow the letter of the law. However, there are things that we would like to accomplish that we cannot accomplish because we are being blocked by other avenues. And so we consistently continue to contact the people that we need to contact, but our lobby can only go so far until we can get our state legislators on board with what we would like to see happen within the industry. Again, it's that tough road that we have.
Then the Municipal League and your industry should partner up and apply even more pressure to lawmakers to get that done. Thank you,
That would be
Heather.
lovely. Thank you.
So Heather, just to be clear, what you're saying is that you will confiscate illegal IDs, you'll turn them into the Sioux Falls Police Department or the City of Sioux Falls.
Correct.
And from that point in your history, you don't believe that there's ever been an attempt to prosecute the perpetrator who gave you that illegal ID?
There either has not been the attempt to prosecute, or my employee or myself having done that particular confiscation of that ID. We've never been contacted to either appear in a courtroom environment or to offer testimony as to what had happened during that instance. I had one employee one summer that I paid out almost $800 in reward, $100 apiece for all IDs confiscated, none of which occurred during a sting, and we were never contacted by the police department or the court system as to what was happening with these people who had been apprehended by my staff.
Heather, I learn something new every day in this job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, Lori.
All right, next up, we have WK Suppliers, Inc., Wolfie's Liquor Spot, 4719 East 26th Street, Bill Ringen.
Mr. Ringen, welcome.
Evening. We've got a pretty good record. We try to get everybody TAM trained. On this instance, the employee was brand new. There was no TAM training available for him right away. He was let go right away. All I can say is we try to do everything we can not to sell to young people. I don't want them to be drinking. I got to agree with Heather. I've talked to the legislators before, and they don't listen to us whatsoever. And I also got to say, it's not the owners that are doing this for the most part. It really isn't. I don't want it to happen. I tell my employees, if their hair isn't as white as mine, you card them. What else can I do? I send them to training. I mean, our hands are tied at that point. Unless we're going to be in the business 24 hours a day, we're stuck.
So, Mr. Ringen, just to be clear, you train your employees, we
send them to TAM training. Yes.
Send them to TAM training. Do you have the machines, too, that you enter in the date?
No.
You don't?
No. The one thing I do is we always say we don't even look at a license that's red. It's real easy in South Dakota. But, like I say, in this instance, the employee was brand new, he was flustered, and he got an app.
Council, questions of Mr. Ringen? Thank you, sir.
Yep.
Lori?
All right, we have Walmart Stores, Inc., Walmart Supercenter, 1535, 3209 South Louise Avenue, Steve Hanselman and Ted Walnofer.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, my name is Ted Walnofer, store manager of this store on Louise and 41st. As a company, we take this very seriously, as you've been hearing with the other groups, but we had a lady, a 20-year associate, trained, and I'll talk about training here in a little bit, but thoroughly trained, 20 years with Walmart as a cashier, and did not, once you sell alcohol, the register prompts that alcohol went through, you got to hit a button. If they're 40 years or older, you hit a button, you proceed 40 years or younger, you hit another prompt button, and then you have to put in the ID. She hit the button to not proceed to check the ID, 40 and over. We talked to her, interviewed why, couldn't come up with a good decision. I just messed up. I just messed up. And through all the training, well, needless to say, we take it very, very seriously. We terminated her that night. What we put in for our policies, we have what's known as a computer-based learning, CBLs. Twice a year, every single one of our cashiers or people that sell alcohol has to take this test. It's about a 20-minute test through alcohol, tobacco, etc. Through orientation, they're taken through the process. Once a month, we have them reread our policies. Once a month, they have to reread the policy and sign off. And with the register prompts, we've put a lot of things into place so we're not selling to underage. This is a situation where, no excuses. This lady, flat, didn't do her job.
Thanks, Ted. Ted, or Council, any questions of this gentleman? Ted, thank you very much.
All right, next up, Wang Enterprise, Inc., King's Liquor Mart, 3725 North Cliff Avenue, represented by Jay Sim.
Good evening. I was here, I think, February, over another location. Well, the Cliff Avenue, we had that for over 10 years in the business. This is the first failed sting that we got. And this particular gentleman with us for 6 years. And so he's up there I guess when it happened, we called him up. I said, what happened? He says, I don't remember sending anybody. And somehow, I don't know what was going through his mind that night, but he swears up and down, even a few weeks after, says, I don't remember that girl, or whatever it was. So anyway, we try to, we have a policy also, rewards and firing and all that. And this particular gentleman passed probably half dozen sting himself, actually. He was pretty good at it. He was the oldest one we have. But that night, somehow, he just failed. So what we did was, me and sister, since he's been with us for over 6 years, we did not fire the guy. We gave him a figure, passed half dozen times, failed first time, so we kept him in our job site still as we speak. But like everybody was saying, I'm not sure what the answer is. We spent all this time to train them. The night that they come to work, and if they're not ready, they get busted. So
Mr. Sim, what does your firm do? You said you train them. Do you have any other equipment, anything else like that?
Yes, this particular location, we do have ID check. You punch it in there, but obviously he didn't do none of that. He just didn't check ID, just sold it. And then I called him up and said, what did you do? He said, well, I don't remember. I just, I don't know what was going through his mind, but he just don't remember particular. Usually, when you got a sting operation, you kind of know, who you sold it to. But anyway, it's just like...
do you think he's entering the information now?
Yeah, we still got him. He didn't use them.
Do you think he's using them now?
Oh, I'm sure he is, because we had a good talk with him, make sure, have a, like I said, no sorry feeling for dude. But granted, he did pass over half a dozen times already, past 6 years. And then he failed this time, so we kept him on the job.
Council, any further questions of Mr. Sin? Thank you. Lori?
All right, and then we have Misty Weirkamp from Munchies, 17 West 11th Street, represented by Mike Weirkamp.
Mr. Weirkamp, welcome, sir.
Good evening. Mike Weirkamp with Munchies at 717 West 11th. Misty's owned the store for 13 years, and it is actually, we've done everything everybody has said here. I mean, we pay them $100 for liquor, and in 13 years, we have passed every cigarette sting. So it's not like they're not carding. It's all due to employee error. And there again, I mean, we can sit up here and tell you how much we do. The employees think I don't know, every day I walk in, are you carding? They're having stings. I think they think I'm nuts. That's all I ever say to them. They're carding. Hey, make sure you card. I want to give you $100 and a big hug. I mean, I think they think I'm nuts, because that's all they ever hear from me, every time I walk in and see our employees. So, I mean, we're all doing everything we can.
Mike, what is it that your firm does, please? If you just relay that to the council.
Who I work for?
No, what does your firm do to prevent this?
We have TAM trained. We've done everything possible. I could get into history stories here, and 3/4 of the times when they're not carding, and they're probably trying to steal money from you. I mean, I could give you one from 2 weeks ago, and if you had came in and pulled a sting there, we probably wouldn't have passed. She was ringing up beer for $1.25 cigarettes, or $1.25 candy. She was ringing up 12 packs of pop for 50 cents. She didn't care about us. I mean, we care about everybody. I mean, I have 6 kids. I know what it's like, and I've been through it. Whatever.
No.
1 in 7 years, I mean,
Thanks,
we slipped,
Mike.
someone slipped.
Thanks, Mike. Hang on.
Any questions?
Council, any questions of Mr. Weirkamp? Thank you very much for your honesty. Appreciate it. Lori?
That's the list.
Very good, very good. Council, any questions, comments? If I did, yes, Councilor Jameson, please.
We could go on all night about comments, but I think we could, we're going to have further discussion about how we can manage this through some other methods. I think I've learned a few things tonight for sure, and it's painful to go through this process, Mayor, but it does, I think, share some and enlighten us on some of the issues. And I hate to even do this, but I make a motion to approve.
Second, Aguilar.
Councilor Jameson's made a motion to approve item number 13, seconded by Councilor Aguilar. If there is no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilor Zerkenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar? Yes. Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Thank
Mr.
you
Mayor?
all. Yes, Councilor Urbanbach?
Can we take a 5-minute recess?
Sure. We will take a 5-minute recess. We'll reconvene at 8:50, we'll reconvene to item number, or 8:55, thank you. Now I'm tired. Item number 14, thank you.
Well, I've got it up. Yeah. No. So, I gotta go to the lady show. So what do we do then?
I think I'll call Carla.
Okay.
I mean, it's still streaming on mine. All right, everybody's back.
We'll bring the meeting back to order. Item number 14.
The second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the Code of Ordinances of the city by adding one legal description to Section 39-82A, providing for rural service district lands.
Mike?
Again, I'm Mike Cooper with Planning and Building Services. We have a petition tonight for the council's consideration to add property into our rural service designation. The property is adjacent to the area known as Lake Lorraine. It's approximately 90 acres of land that's currently undeveloped, and the petitioner is Friesen family, and this would allow the property to be assessed in the future as ag land versus non-ag land, and the recommendation is to approve this request.
This is a second reading. Is there anyone in the audience want to speak to this? Council, questions of Mr. Cooper? Councilor Urbanbach?
I'd move approval.
Second, Aguilar.
It's been a motion to approve by Councilor Urbanbach, seconded by Councilor Aguilar. Is there any discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilors Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yeah.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Passed 7-0. Item 15.
Second reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by revising the monthly vacation accrual schedule and establishing a new maximum balance for employees hired after December 31st, 2011.
Mayor and City Council, Bill O'Toole from Human Resources. I'll be brief with the explanation. There are two changes in Chapter 30. The first one is in Chapter 30, 137, that deals with the vacation accrual schedule. What we are doing is making an incremental change in the current rate and adding an additional level of 1.25 hours a month in years 3 and 4 and 2.25 hours in 4 and 5. And what that translates to is the current schedule at 6.75 is 2 weeks annually, as you all know, and that brief enhancement makes it 2.4 for years 3 through 4 and 2.7 weeks for 4 and 5. And the reason for the change, or the proposed change in the schedule, is because in prior collective bargaining agreements, we enhanced those accrual schedules for the collective bargaining agreements. Chapter 30 applies for all the non-collectively bargained employees. So that's the first section. Section 2 then deals with the maximum accrual carryover schedule. And there again, this is an issue that stems from the bargaining process. During collective bargaining with all three of our labor unions, we reduced the vacation schedule for new employees, those employees hired after December 31st, 2011, and we reduced the amount that they could carry over by. For them, it was 39 hours, and what we've done here is we've made the similar reduction in maximum accrual schedule. And in Section 1A, for employees hired after or hired before January 1st, 2012, it remains the same at the 280, but for those hired after December 31st, 2011, that is reduced to 240 hours. And then we're doing the exact same thing for fire shift management employees from 336 to 288 for that same time period. We ask for your support, but I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Again, a second reading. Is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak to this? Council, questions?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second, Brown.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve item number 15, seconded by Councilor Brown. Is there any discussion? A roll call vote, please.
Councilors Erkenbach? Yes. Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Item 16.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, a major amendment, petition number 2011-1102 to Chapter 15.45.070, Plan Development Districts at 111 Northwest Avenue, amending the Sioux Falls Plaza Plan Development District's sub-area regulations. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
The Sioux Falls Plaza Plan Development District includes the existing Arena Convention Center, Howard Wood Field, baseball stadium, in the Sheraton Hotel. Now that the event center vote has passed and we are moving forward with that project, we felt it was time to take a look at this plan development district and update it to accommodate potential future changes to the area. And so what we are doing is we're adding additional uses that would be allowed, including an event center, including full-service restaurant, including on-sale alcohol establishment, and including other retail trade and services. Again, we are looking at not only development that would go on within the event center, but also potential for other uses that would expand out in this proximity. We're also looking at updating the standards that we would use to address any kind of future development within this area. The last time we updated this was probably when we did the convention center, which was quite a few years ago. And so we are asking for the City Council to consider the changes, and the Planning Commission has recommended approval.
Anyone in the audience want to speak to this?
First reading.
Oh, it's first, oh, I'm sorry. It's a first reading. Thank you, Michael. Council, any questions or comments on Mike on this first reading?
Move to set the second hearing date for Tuesday, January 3rd, 2012, at 7 p.m.
Second, Aguilar.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to set a date of second reading for Tuesday, January 3rd, seconded by Councilor Aguilar. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Councilors Erkenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That's passed 7-0. 17.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending the revised ordinances of the city by amending minimal amendments for parking. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
Within our plan development zoning district ordinance, we have 3 levels of amendments that can be considered. A major amendment requires hearing before Planning Commission and City Council. A minor amendment requires public hearing before the City Planning Commission. A minimal amendment requires only administrative approval. The city staff has been approached by Sioux Falls Multi-Housing Association, South Dakota Multi-Housing Association, with concerns about allowing administrative changes to parking and loading requirements for planned development districts. And after discussing that with the association as well as some of the members of the council, we are supporting this change, which would eliminate minimal amendments that would include any change to parking and loading requirements. So in other words, those would have to go through either a hearing before Planning Commission and/or City Council.
It's another first reading. Council, any questions? Yes, Mr. Jameson?
I just wanted to share with the rest of the council that I sat in some of these meetings with Mike and some of his staff, and found this idea actually came from Mike through the concerns of some of the folks at the Multi-Housing Association, and Mike responded very well and came up with this plan and idea, and I think it's a great compromise and satisfies all parties that were interested. So I just want to share with the council it's a great compromise.
Thanks, Councilor. Councilor, would you mind making a motion?
Sure.
Thank you.
I'll make a motion to set the hearing date.
Second, Erpenbach.
Councilor Jameson's made a motion, seconded by Councilor Erpenbach. If there is no further discussion, a roll call vote, please.
Councilors Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
This passed 7-0. Item 18.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, amending Appendix B, the zoning ordinance of the revised ordinances of the city by amending street legal ATVs to the definition of personal passenger vehicles. The Planning Commission recommends approval.
This is a proposal that has also gone through City Council Land Use Committee with a recommendation for approval, and this would amend our definition of vehicles that could be parked in residential areas to include the street legal ATVs.
Council, any comments on this one? Councilor Jameson, please.
Well, I seem to have a habit of bringing recreational vehicles and parking issues together. This is a simple clarification, though, of changing street legal ATVs to licensed or essentially passenger vehicles and allowing them to be parked in a driveway, just like a motorcycle could be parked in a driveway. We did go through Planning Commission. They recommended approval. It's just a minor change. And still, these are not allowed to be parked in your yard. So there's really no difference between this and a motorized vehicle like your own vehicle. So just bringing some trending of our people in our community that are using ATVs up to current in the code. So I would appreciate your support, and I would make a motion to set the hearing date.
Second, Anderson.
Councilor Jameson's made a motion to set that second reading, and it was seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. Is there any discussion?
Just
Councilor
wanted to
Wolf?
know where Councilor Jameson is parking his now.
In the garage.
In the garage.
Is that with the plow blade on or off?
Plow blade on, no license, though.
All right. Councilor, roll call vote, please.
Councilors Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That's passed 7-0. Item 19.
First reading, an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, repealing Article 19, photo monitoring systems for enforcement of traffic control signals, Section 4400 through 4405 of the revised Code of Ordinances of said city.
David?
Good evening, Dave Fifley with the City Attorney's Office. Agenda item 19 reflects ordinance sections 40-400 to 40-405. It's a proposal to have these items repealed. These sections established a photo monitoring system for the enforcement of traffic control signals, better known as the red light cameras, and they are located at 10th Street and Minnesota Avenue. These sections established a monetary penalty that was a civil penalty in nature and not a criminal penalty. State law establishes a criminal penalty for violation of red light laws, as does other city ordinances, in particular sections 40-116 and 40-119. The photo monitoring system allowed for proof of a violation by proof of ownership of the vehicle rather than proof of the individual driver. And again, a monetary penalty, not a criminal penalty, was assessed. A lawsuit was brought by a vehicle owner who challenged this system. Presiding Circuit Court Judge Kathleen Caldwell ruled on June 15th of 2010 that the city exceeded its authority under the state constitution and state law, and that it made a criminal offense under state law only a civil offense under city ordinance. This proposal repeals the photo monitoring system with its civil penalty. It does not change any other ordinances that criminal such behavior, which is consistent with state law. For the public's information, these cameras have been turned off since Judge Caldwell's ruling, and now we are just essentially starting our recodification process, cleaning up our ordinances, and due to the standing memorandum opinion of Judge Caldwell, we're asking that you repeal these ordinances. Any questions?
Move to set the second reading for Tuesday, January 3rd at 7 o'clock.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to set the second reading, seconded by Councilor Karski. Any conversation, any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
It's passed 7-0. Item 20.
First reading an ordinance of the City of Sioux Falls, South Dakota, rescinding ordinance number 8311 and amending Appendix F of the Code of Ordinances of said city by rezoning property at north 330 feet of west 660 feet of northwest quarter, southwest quarter of Section 12, Township 100, North Range 51 West, Lincoln County, South Dakota, from the A1 Agricultural District to the S&J Planned Development Districts. The joint Sioux Falls Lincoln County Commissions recommend denial.
This is an item that the city council is very familiar with. It's located just outside the city limits along south side of the Teals Road, or south of 57th Street. The petitioner's name is Thad Shetnan. The proposal is to allow this development for storage facility, this property. Previously, the joint planning commissions met twice, and then we had a subsequent joint meeting of the city council and the Lincoln County Commission to take action on this. After that action was taken, we discovered that the property had not been properly posted, and so now we're going back through first and second reading to reconsider. I guess we're not reconsidering it, we're essentially starting over with the first and second reading. And the joint meeting will be at the Carnegie Town Hall on January 23rd.
Council.
Move to set the second reading for Monday, January 23rd at 7 o'clock.
Second Aguilar.
Thank you, Councilor Anderson Jr. Thank you, Councilor Aguilar. Is there any discussion on this item? Yes, Councilor Karski.
If this is going to be discussed at a joint meeting with the county, wouldn't that be 5 o'clock meeting?
It's Lincoln County.
Lincoln County 7.
Okay, sorry. Thank you.
Roll call vote, please.
Councilor Zerkenbach? Yes. Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Passed 7-0. Item 21.
A resolution approving the 2012 audit plan.
Rich Oaksville, lead internal auditor. You have before you, or electronically, the 2012 audit plan. This was prepared by our office, and it was endorsed by the audit committee. Our process is to do a risk assessment to identify some audit projects that we want to do in the coming year, and they also solicit the input from the city council and the mayor and from the directors. And I'm happy to report that we had, I believe, 7 requests from 4 different directors that we were able to incorporate into our plan. I think that's a good sign. They see the value of our audits. Some of those that they suggested were things that we were already considering, and then some were things that they wanted looked at. So I think that proves the value of what we're doing. Even when we're critical of a department, I think they see the value of our audit work. I won't go through every single audit project there, but this will result in about approximately 14 reports during the year. One of our challenges this year, and for every city department, is the change in financial software that we are anticipating for 2012. I met with the finance director, and we talked about that and the role of internal audit in helping departments as we transition from HD to our new software, that we're not weakening our internal controls. And the other challenge, too, will be obviously the event center, which passed. We had to put that on our audit plan, and that'll be on there for the next several years, too, as we look at the internal control structure over that project and reviewing the pay requests. So we would ask for your approval of this, and we'll also take any questions you may have on the projects.
Is there anyone in the audience who want to speak to this? Council, questions? Mr. Oaksville?
Move for approval, Anderson.
Second Aguilar.
Councilor Anderson Jr. has made a motion to approve this resolution, seconded by Councilor Aguilar. A roll call vote, please.
Councilor Zerkenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
It's passed 7-0. Item 22.
A resolution establishing a salary program that maintains a market-competitive salary range with a pay-for-performance program for the appointed positions of lead internal auditor and internal auditor commencing on January 9th, 2012.
Hi, Sue.
Thank you. Sue Roust, interim city clerk. This resolution and the next one on the agenda would adjust the salary ranges for your appointed city council staff. This first one refers to the staff in the internal audit office. They have had no increase, no cost of living increase in the last 2 years, and like general employees who are not unionized employees, they would be getting a 2% increase, both to their range and to their individual salaries. So this would affect the lead, this one would affect the lead internal auditor, and the internal auditor would take effect beginning January 9th, 2012, as is the case with our general employees.
Is there anyone in the audience who want to speak to this item? Council?
Move to approve, Brown.
Councilor Brown's made a motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Aguilar. Is there any discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Erkenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. Item 23.
A resolution establishing a salary program that maintains a market competitive salary range with a pay-for-performance program for the appointed position of budget analyst commencing on January 9, 2012.
As I said, this is similar to the previous resolution. This affects the budget analyst position. While you only created that position last summer, it was created, I am quite sure, with a salary set commensurate with other positions in the organization. And so when the others all go up 2%, it's appropriate for this one to adjust as well. So this one, again, would adjust the range and the individual salary by 2% on January 9th, 2012.
Council?
Move approval, Erkenbach.
Second, Anderson.
Councilor Box made a motion to approve item 23, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. If there's no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Councilors Erkenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
This passed 7-0. Item 24.
A resolution establishing the City of Sioux Falls legislative priorities for the 2012 state legislative session.
Once again, you've been working for several weeks discussing the legislative priorities that the City Council would set for the year 2012 for that legislative session. You have solicited input from the administration as well as input from individual council members. You've come up with 5 priorities that have been placed in this resolution for your consideration. 3 of them are also on the South Dakota Municipal League priority list. Those would be a statement on local control, opposing legislation that restricts local control over taxation and spending, or any legislation that would inhibit municipalities from providing services requested by their citizens. Second one, also supported by the Municipal League and by the Sioux Falls Chamber of Commerce, would expand the base for 911 surcharges and provide and encourage legislation to increase the 911 surcharge. The third one that is in conjunction with the Municipal League is the one that would exempt municipal projects, facilities, and equipment from sales and use taxes. In addition, there are 2 others. One is the one that's been alluded to earlier this evening. The Sioux Falls City Council supports legislation giving municipalities the authority to revoke liquor licenses for establishments with underage sales violations. We also have heard that the City of Huron is very interested in this, and while this is not a stated priority of the Municipal League, I suspect you will find other teammates that are willing to go to bat for that one. The 5th one is legislation that would allow elections to use voting center concepts similar to that used by the Sioux Falls School District last May. This is an initiative from the Secretary of State that we think will have support also from Rapid City and Pennington County and several other counties within the state. And so those are the 5 that you have come up with. This is on your agenda tonight, in particular because Wednesday morning is the breakfast meeting with the legislators prior to session, where you have the opportunity to show them or to tell them about your legislative priorities. And so that's why we have it on the agenda tonight.
Good job, Sue. Thank you. Is there anyone in the audience who wants to speak to this? Council?
Move approval, Erpenbach.
Second, Brown.
Councilor Buck's made a motion to approve, seconded by Councilor Brown. If there's no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Councilors Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That is passed 7-0. Item 25.
A resolution advising and giving consent to the appointment of members to certain citizen boards.
Thank you. Denise, would you mind reading those for the public, the name of the board and the people?
Sure.
Thank you.
We have Ron Helwig, Board of Museum Trustees, Joshua Shoresman, Board of Historic Preservation, Megan Myers, Public Transit Advisory Board, Deborah Nelson, Public Transit Advisory Board, Katrina Lair McKinney, Orpheum Theater Advisory Board of Directors, Mark Lindell, Orpheum Theater Advisory Board of Directors, Martin Galanter, Orpheum Theater Advisory Board of Directors.
Very good. Council, would everybody okay with those?
Move approval, Aguilar.
Second, Karski.
Thank you, Councilor Aguilar. Appreciate it. And Councilor Karski, thank you as well for seconding it. Any comments? Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jameson?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
It's been 7-0. Item 26.
A resolution creating tax incremental district number 13, City of Sioux Falls.
Good evening, Erica Beck with
Hi, Erica.
Community Development Department. If okay with the City Council and Mayor, I'd like to present items 26 and 27 together, but they will require a separate vote.
It looks good except for one. Go ahead.
Thank you.
Joking.
Just let me read in item 27 into record so for discussion purposes. Item 27 is a resolution approving the project plan for tax incremental district number 13, City of Sioux Falls.
Thank you. Well, the catalyst for the creation of this district is the renovation of the Raven Industries headquarters building in downtown Sioux Falls. Hopefully you had all an opportunity to read about the expansion of Raven Industries within the last year and their anticipated projects moving forward. But one of the things that we're very excited about in talking with Raven Industries is the fact that they want to take their existing headquarters structure within the downtown area and renovate that into more of a modern headquarters facility, meaning that they would take out the manufacturing component, move that out into the industrial park, and create this to be really the home to their future campus in terms of headquarter facilities. And one of the things that we've talked to them about is creating a TIF district that would capture the increment generated from their expansion project, their renovation project, and to utilize that for both public expenses related with their project as well as public expenses related with the city's River Greenway project. They are proposing that their project is completed in 3 phases. The last phase would be completed in 2016. The district as a whole that you see on the screen has a current base value of approximately $4.4 million. After the project's completed, we anticipate that to increase to over $14.7 million. The proposed TIF plan outlines total TIF eligible expenses, which will be expended as the TIF increment allows. Potential TIF eligible expenses that we've identified total approximately $3.5 million. And those include, again, public improvements for the district, parking, reconstruction and public recreation easement reconstruction. Raven Industries is also proposing to construct a terrace along the south side of their building along our River Greenway, and we're really excited about that opportunity since it will be a public space and be user-friendly and really consistent with what we're trying to do along the River Greenway in general. Revenue from the increment will also be used for facade easements, public exterior meeting space on the York building, and that's the building that Raven Industries owns just north of 6th Street, and then River Greenway improvements. And we're totaling those to be $1.5 million. And I'll just note on that quickly that in order to be reimbursed for any of these improvements, whether it's city-related or Raven Industries related, those improvements would have to be completed within the first 5 years of the project. So we've been talking to both Raven Industries and then as well as our park and recreation system as well to coordinate those potential river greenway improvements along that side of the river. We're recommending approval of both the boundary of this TIF district and the project plan. It meets the guidelines set forth within South Dakota codified law for TIF districts, our 2015 downtown plan, and our 2035 growth management plan. If you have any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer them. And then just to let you know as well, Hugh Dotson from Raven Industries has attended the meeting tonight as well. And if you have any questions for him related to the project, I'm sure he'd be happy to answer them. Thank you.
It's very exciting. Council, any questions on this or comments? Yes, Councilor Karski.
Just a question, Erica. The terracing that they're going to do it's on the west bank, correct?
The south side, yep. The south side of the building, west bank of the river.
They're doing that on their own initiative?
Correct.
Part of that's fantastic. I'm glad to hear that. That's great for them to do that.
Councilor, you want to
Mr.
jump in on this one?
Mayor, I would move approval on number 26, item 26.
Second, Karski.
Councilor Bach, thank you, and Councilor Karski, thank you for your motion on the resolution on number 26. A roll call vote, please.
Councilors Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
That's passed 7-0. Item 27.
Move approval.
Thank you.
Second, Anderson.
Councilor Rolfing, thank you, and Councilor Anderson Jr., thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Councilors Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski? Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
Thank you. Council, any new business?
Move adjournment.
Second.
Councilor Marks made a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting, seconded by Councilor Anderson Jr. If there is no further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Councilors Erpenbach?
Yes.
Jamison?
Yes.
Karski?
Yes.
Rolfing?
Yes.
Aguilar?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Brown?
Yes.
It is passed 7-0. Great meeting, City Council. You earned your money again, that's for sure. City of Sioux Falls, Merry Christmas to all of you and Happy Holidays to all of you. Make it a great night. This meeting is adjourned.